Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, where we discuss everything there is to know in the world of soccer, featuring the hottest summer transfers and the top games and competitions from all around the world. I'm Ben.
I'm Alex.
And we have been treated really all summer. Usually in soccer, Alex, we have nothing to really talk about all summer, but we have been just given a golden ticket this summer.
Yeah, it was a good summer to start a soccer show. I'll put it that way. Before I don't want to get too much into it. How you doing, Ben? What's new with you?
Not much, man. Just same stuff, different day. Really in that grind. I'm sure you can sort of relate to.
Yep.
Just that work grind, that sports grind, that soccer grind, football grind. Just living it up, man.
I can dig it.
We had those vacations, not necessarily vacation, but business trips last couple of weeks. So now we're sort of winding down back into our regular routine, and now we're just kicking things off.
Yeah, what's weird is too, not weird, but what's cool for me is, I'm always so busy between this and my regular job that that I have to do, because this is fun, but this is for us, this is experience and all that stuff and what we want to eventually do. I have other jobs. I'm actually currently looking for another job and all that stuff. But I started a page that I do film reviews on. Also,
like a blog.
Yeah, a blog that I do film reviews on. Yeah.
Okay, and I know you're a huge movie fan. I know it seems like every time we come back in over the weekend, you're like, "Hey, I went and saw this movie this weekend." Like I know you saw Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I did my first review last night. It was actually for the new Star Trek Beyond.
And I know you're a big comic book guy. You're gonna have to give me the link. Text me the link. I'll definitely look at it and I'll read them. So
yeah, you have to let me know. I've always been self-conscious of my grammar. I never thought it was the greatest. So
who cares?
I tried really hard. So I tried really. I'll text you in a minute actually. But
yeah, I want to check it out. I'm thinking it's either gonna be this week. I'm spending like a family day with my grandma. We're gonna go to lunch as a family, go to a movie.
Take her to see Suicide Squad.
We do it all the time. No, we're thinking about seeing Bad Moms.
Oh, okay.
So we all seem to think that it's going to be pretty funny. We're looking forward to it. So I'm not sure if we're going this week or down the road, but we're definitely going to be doing that eventually soon. So I don't know. You haven't seen the movie, have you? No.
Bad Moms, no.
So
it looks interesting.
Maybe I'll give you a review on it. So
I would like that, Ben.
Anyways, we're going to be doing a review of our own right. We're going to be reviewing the first, not necessarily week, but last few days of the Olympic soccer. Olympics currently going on in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We have just about every team, every nation in the men's and women's playing at least 2 games. We have some of the third games, which is the last game in the group stage for a lot of these teams kicking off tonight. We have the U.S. women's national team, the defending World Cup champions. They're going to be ending group play against Colombia. They are pretty much already through to the next round after they won their first 2 games against France and against New Zealand. But we're going to give you updates on the Olympics. We're going to start off with the men's. So we have 4 groups here. We have, obviously, A through D. So currently atop Group A, we have Denmark at 4 points. We have Brazil and Iraq tied with 2 points in second and third, and South Africa coming in with 1 point after that draw against Brazil in their first game, end up losing to Denmark. So Denmark out on top currently. In Group B, we have Nigeria with 6 points atop the group, winning their first 2 games. We have Colombia in its second. And then Japan and Sweden each have 1 point at the sort of bottom end of Group B there.
All right, I'll say that now. Group C, we have Korea at the top with 4 points, tied with Mexico. and they both have 1 win, 1 tie with 4 points there. Germany has just 2 ties, no losses, so they do get away with 2 points there in the 3rd spot. And then Fiji rounds out the top in that group in the 4th spot with 2 losses, no points there, unfortunately. And then we have Group D, which would be Portugal. They are sitting at top with 2 points there. 2 wins, 6 points. Honduras has 1 win, 1 loss, and they are tied there with Argentina with the same record. They are both at 3 points. And then Algeria rounds out the list at no wins, no ties, and 2 losses.
Yeah, we talked a little about Fiji maybe being the Olympic version of Iceland from the European Championships, but not really going too well for them.
So far, no good.
They, in their 2 games combined, have been outscored by a total of 13 goals to 1. Okay. So, and then they're going up against Germany in their next game. So
yes.
Germany currently 3rd in Group C with 2 points. They need to make a big move. They need to win against Fiji. They ended up drawing against South Korea on Sunday.
They lost? I thought they lost to Korea.
No.
Last I saw it was 3-2.
It was a draw. They ended up drawing.
Then again, if you look, they obviously have no losses, so silly Alex.
Yeah, Korea was ahead, and then Germany...
They answered one another very quickly.
They evened it,
time.
and South Korea went up ahead again. Yeah. But yeah, definitely a good battle. I saw Serge Gnabry, who is German, who plays for Arsenal, had a nice little curler on the left side, nice goal.
I was at brunch for my girlfriend's birthday downtown at a restaurant that we call Cafeteria here in Sacramento. I know, funny name, but it was literally the TV was right above me, so I was watching the game, and it was. I mean, they answered Germany answered the first goal by. Korea very quickly, and then Korea answered the goal by Germany second very quickly, So it was definitely a very competitive game. I'll tell you what, Korea, those players are fast, man. Those guys are quick.
Yeah, a lot of people from Korea, especially in that Korean league, they definitely have the pace. So for Germany here, I think really going in against Fiji, they couldn't be in a better position. That should be an easy win. Fiji have been really outmatched this whole Olympics, but they're currently in 3rd in the group. South Korea and Mexico, who are joint top at 4 points, are going to be playing each other next. For the Germans, they definitely need to see one of those 2 teams come out on top. They need to see either South Korea win or Mexico win, because I would assume Germany would beat Fiji, and that if one of these 2 teams win, you'd have either South Korea or Mexico at 7 points. You'd have Germany at 5, and then the other team who lost that matchup between the Mexicans and the South Koreans would be at 4 points. So that's going to be the best thing for Germany in order for them to advance. They're definitely still one of the favorites. To me, the team that's really done the least or been the most surprising has been Brazil, the host nation. Brazil currently, they are 2nd in the group in Group A with 2 points. That's not too bad. Denmark at 4. They're tied with Iraq at 2, and then South Africa at 1, as we mentioned. But with Brazil, both of their games, Alex, have been 0-0 draws. They haven't even scored a goal. They haven't given up a goal, which is great, but they can't get on the scorecard. They played South Africa in their first game, and they had a man advantage, did Brazil, for about a half hour of the game. Couldn't get anything going. They played Iraq on Sunday. I watched the first half of that game, and especially for the last 15, 20 minutes, the Brazilians were dominating. They had at least 5 to 10 chances, solid goal chances. Couldn't get anything through. And they have the players. They have Neymar, who is by far the best player in this whole entire tournament. They have Gabriel Jesus up front. He just signed for Manchester City over the week. He's going to be coming over January next year. You don't go to Manchester City if you're not a good player. And then they have Gabriel Barbosa, a.k.a. Gabigol, great nickname. He was also a quality player.
And a lot of these teams are using their 21 and under league teams,
yeah, 23.
23 and under teams.
Yeah, so Brazil, definitely a great young foundation to their national team and great budding stars. People like Marquinhos, who plays for PSG. Brazil definitely have been the disappointment in this sort of Olympics on the men's side, in my opinion. They got to get things going. And they're going to be playing Denmark next, who lead the group. So, I mean, you can't expect them to really 0-0 draw again, can you?
No, I can't personally, but I mean, what you can do, man.
And I think it's got to be, I think the person has to be Neymar to step up. He's the best player. He's the captain.
Yeah.
He's the leader. He's got to step up in these Olympics and really provide something for this Brazilian squad if they want to progress. With that said, I think that Brazil are definitely going to get things done. I think they definitely advance. They're still going to be a force to reckon with, but they got to sort of get things going right.
All right, well, moving over to the women's side, we have the same groupings, not exactly the same standings, though. Brazil is in first in Group E with 2 wins, 6 points overall. And then you have China and Sweden tied for 3 points with a win and a loss each. And then, South Africa is at the bottom of that as well with no points, both losses in their first 2 matches. You move to Group F, and you have Canada at the top there with 6 points, 2 wins. Germany, though, is in the second spot there with 1 win, 1 draw, and they have 4 points. Australia's sitting there at 1 tie and 1 loss with 1, and then Zimbabwe is sitting there at the bottom with 0-2, 0-2 as a matter of fact, and no points.
Yeah, they ended up facing Germany in their first game, a really bad defeat.
True,
they lost
some tough
6-1.
straws, yeah.
And then they lost again to Canada. So Canada's doing really well. Canada's not a bad women's soccer nation. I think Germany are definitely the favorites of this group still. They did draw with Australia in their last game, but they will be playing Canada next, really to sort of lead that group. I think definitely Germany will win that game. Germany, really behind the United States, is one of the best women's football nations. So.
That leads me into Group G, and the United States women are just dominating right now. 2-0 and 0, only 2 wins throughout their 2 games. 6 points, just leading that group. France and New Zealand are tied for second there with 3 points, 1 win and 1 loss. And then Colombia, unfortunately, at the bottom, 0-2. No wins, no draws, 2 losses and no points there for the women of Colombia.
Yeah, the United States have already clinched their way through the next round. They will be playing Colombia next. That means France and New Zealand are playing each other, so they both possibly can't get to 6 points. Only one of them can with a win. So the United States, even with a loss against Colombia later tonight, they would still progress. I think the United States definitely still the best nation. Carly Lloyd has scored in both games. Alex Morgan also scored against New Zealand in the first game. So the United States look really well. Hope Solo, she's really been the surprise to me.
And they are giving her the roughest of times out there.
And that's exactly what I mean, because the fans in Brazil have been really criticizing Solo. She's been really vocal and outspoken about her concern over Zika virus, wearing a lot of bug spray. So every time she touches the ball, really, they're chanting Zika at her and really just yelling.
They're really giving her a rough. It's honestly, it's kind of getting out of hand.
Yeah, they're just yelling really bad things at her.
Yeah.
So, but with that being said, she's really been a standout performer. That game against France, you could say that she could have easily let 2 or 3 goals by. But
She's lights out.
But she didn't let any by. So Carly Lloyd ends up with the winner against France. They end up winning 1-0 United States. So they're definitely progressing. They're playing well. Carly Lloyd's been on fire. Hope Solo's been on fire. The U.S. women's national team are looking quite well right now as they move into their last game. So, and France are a really good nation as well. They're definitely in the top 5 of the women's FIFA ranking. So a good win for the United States over the weekend on Saturday. Yeah,
and there's a few women's games actually kicking off. As a matter of fact, right now, Australia and Zimbabwe are starting a game in Group F, as well as Germany and Canada are starting their game. Just kicked off literally a minute ago, if not currently kicking off now that it is noon here. And then a little bit later on in the day, we actually have the home nation for us, the United States, playing Colombia at 3 p.m., and the women of New Zealand and France get kicked off at 3 as well. And then to round out the day at 6 p.m., both games, it will be Sweden playing, is that China? Yes. There's a weird little abbreviation. And then South Africa playing Brazil starting at 6 p.m. to round off the day of activity for women's soccer.
Yeah, the women's Brazilian side has looked really well. Marta, she
is a monster. She's great.
She's been a really standout performer. She's got a couple of goals and a couple of assists. They really dismantled Sweden. I think that was Friday night that they really dismantled them. They ended up winning. They were up 3-0 at the half. Marta had a penalty goal, so really looking really well. Unite the Brazilian team and Marta.
It's good to hear, man. And, of course, we will update you guys next week on all of the news that comes from the Olympics. We'll be a little bit more established into the second round, pretty much, of the Olympics as we get moving after the group stages here. And we will always bring you that news, but we're going to take our first break.
Yes, right.
Yeah, all right, so we will be coming back, and we'll be getting into a little bit of transfer news. So you guys don't go anywhere. Ben and I will be back at the GSMC Soccer Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. As Alex mentioned before the break, we have the Olympics going on. We have the women's German national team at Canada. We're in the 7th minute. We don't have any goals yet, Alex. But Germany really dominating. They have 77% of the possession so far.
Yeah, they're kind of handling business, if you ask me.
Yes, and then also in Europe, we have going on the 2016 UEFA Super Cup going on. We have the Champions League winners, Real Madrid, against fellow Spanish La Liga side, Sevilla. They are the winners of the Europa League. Kind of like a sort of tournament between those two, like a winner-take-all championship game. Kind of like the Community Shield over the weekend, which featured Manchester United over Leicester City, which United ended up coming out on top 2-1.
Yes.
But we have, in the 23rd minute, we have a Real Madrid lead. We have a 1-0 lead for Real Madrid. And Marco Asensio just scored for Real Madrid in the 21st minute. We don't have a lot of the big names playing. Gareth Bale is still on leave from Wales with his time in European Championships. Cristiano Ronaldo is trying to recover from that knee injury faced in the European Championship final. So, yeah, they're still not really playing, but Real Madrid nevertheless have a 1-0 lead.
Yes, they do, because Real Madrid is just that good.
They are pretty good. They are the defending Champions League winners for nothing.
That's true.
Right, so moving on, we are going to be jumping in to our ever so popular, Alex, what's it called?
Transfers
of the
week.
We have transfers of the week. We have rumors. I guess we can start off by really the big one, Alex, that was on Monday, and you're quite happy about it.
Yeah, man.
It has finally been announced. The wait is over.
Yep.
It's official. Paul Pogba is finally, once again, a member of the Manchester United Red Devils.
Yeah, returning to Old Trafford.
Returning to Old Trafford for £89 million, really lower than originally reported. It was going to be about £100 million, but they get him for £89 million. Nevertheless, it is a world record transfer fee, the highest ever. He beats out Gareth Bale, moving from Tottenham to Real Madrid by about $3.5 million. Yes. So, how excited are you to have Paul Pogba back?
That's a front line
for Manchester United.
That's a line that's not to be trifled with. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of money, especially for a midfield guy, a guy
they're
that
really going for it for a year. They're not even really in the mix. You know, they're not
going to be in the Champions League.
It's for a year. They're not like. Where was this stuff last year, guys?
I guess that's a good way to put it. They're going to be in the Europa League, so they're still battling for European football glory. Not in the Champions League, which everyone sort of looks at as the coup de grace. But anyway, so Manchester United really are back with a lot of the moves they've made. You bring in Paul Pogba now. You got Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who scored the winner on Sunday in the FA Community Shield.
He sure did.
So you have Ibrahimovic. You brought in Henrik Mkhitaryan from Borussia Dortmund from the Bundesliga. And you brought in Eric Bailly to be that central defender to go along with Chris Smalling. I definitely say with those 4 moves, with the addition of Jose Mourinho as manager, they're definitely one of the favorites. Definitely finished last year, finished 5th in the Premier League.
Yes, they did.
But now I'd say they're definitely moving up that ladder. We're going to preview the Premier League and the French League, Ligue 1 in our next segment. So I'll stop it there. But definitely a big name signing for Manchester United, the biggest one ever.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it, man. I am. I'm pretty happy to watch some Man U games this year for sure.
Yeah, they kick their season off Sunday morning at 5:30 Pacific time, 8:30 over on the East Coast, and then over in England they're playing. It's going to be about 1:30 in Europe. So I'm not sure if Pogba's going to be there or not. Be ready. He's already with the team, but he still sort of hasn't even trained with them yet. So I would imagine he would not play in the first game. He's got to get his fitness level back up. But I would give him maybe 2-3 games at the most, and then he'd be ready to play for the Red Devils once again. Anyways, moving past Paul Pogba to your inner city rivals, they completed a signing this morning. Another signing. They signed people left and right. Manchester City last week signing Leroy Sané. This week moving in and signing a record deal for a defender. They bring over England international from Everton, John Stones. So John Stones really been the catalyst of every central defender's wish list. He was wanted by Chelsea last year. He was wanted by Chelsea this year even, but he ends up going to Manchester City. It is a record deal for a defender. It's going to be about £47.5 million. He's still young. He's only 22 years old. Really, I'd say this fee is about the future. He has so much potential at such a young age. Been playing for Everton for the past couple of seasons now in the Premier League. A pretty solid defender. He was shaky at times at the back last year, but nevertheless, he still is young. He moves into Pep Guardiola's system now. Really, John Stones is kind of like the next PK for Pep Guardiola, who used to manage PK at Barcelona. Mm-hmm. It's a great fit. I mean, unfortunately, I know you're not going to be happy with the deal, but
it's a good move for the Blues. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that much.
It's a great move. He is pretty pricey, but he is going to fit in quite nicely. They do have a lot of center back needs. I'd say more so now with the addition of Stones. I'd say he probably gets paired up to the Argentine center back Nicolas Otamendi, who they signed last year in the transfer window, forming a pretty solid center back pairing.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a good signing for them in the general sense in the first place, I think, another team that's going to be in the Champions League this year in the first place, I think.
Yeah, they are
doing stuff they finished fourth last year in the Premier League, excuse me. So, I think it's something that just helps improve their potential.
Yeah, definitely. Pep Guardiola not playing around. As soon as he gets to Man City, they sort of have given him total control and said, okay, spend money. He brings in Leroy Sané, brings in John Stones, signed Nolito, signs Ilkay Gundogan. He signs another couple of young players, Gabriel Jesus, who we mentioned from Brazil in the last segment, playing for the Olympics right now for Brazil. So he's just really throwing money around left and right, bringing players in. John Stones, the next addition, I would say with the addition of John Stones now being announced today, I would think they're done, with the next week here, as you hear a truck backing up behind us. Sorry about that. I would say that Manchester City are probably done for this summer transfer window now. Obviously, things do happen. They did sign Kevin De Bruyne last year from Wolfsburg, the Belgian midfielder, after the season was already going on. But I would be surprised if we see any more moves from Man City. So,
all right. Well, what else we got on the transfer wire this week?
The other big one kind of is Andre Ayew. Andre Ayew from Ghana. He comes over from Swansea City in the Premier League. He's staying in England. He's moving over to West Ham. So they signed him for about 20.5 million euros. Not euros, but 20.5 million pounds. He is West Ham's record signing now at 20.5 million. Last year for Swansea, he got off to a great start, but then really he and Swansea both really sort of didn't go too well. Swansea City as a whole last year ended up finishing 12th in the Premier League, so in the middle of the table, not bad, but definitely could have been a lot better. But Ayew moves over from Swansea to West Ham. Ayew was fouled more times per game than any player in the Premier League last year, about 2.5 times per game. So he's really good with the dribbles. He's a winger. He can play either on the right side or the left side. You're going to pair him up now with Dimitri Payet, who had just a fantastic debut season for West Ham last year and really did quite well for France in the European Championships. You pair him in that midfield with people like Dimitri Payet. West Ham certainly making plays to try and be one of the I'm going to say in the upper tier of the Premier League next year. It's going to be quite competitive, but definitely making good moves after last year. They ended up finishing 7th. So
yes, they did.
I'd say they can definitely still stay in that position for this year. And
yeah.
Andre Ayew is going to be one of those guys to help them.
And playing in the Europa League as well.
Yeah, and then really the last one, this kind of a low-end week. A lot of teams are getting ready for the season to start. We have Thomas Vermaelen from Barcelona. He's a center back. He's Belgian. He has completed a loan move to Roma. Thomas Vermaelen didn't really fit in with Barcelona much. They're so competitive in that central defender role. You have PK. They bring in Samuel Umtiti from Lyon this year, so they don't really need Vermaelen, so they end up loaning him out to Roma. Vermaelen, who's formerly of Arsenal, now gets to team up with Wojciech Szczesny, the goalkeeper, who's also on loan to Roma from Arsenal, so they get sort of a reunion there. So, And there also is a buy option for Roma. They do need central defender helps, So possibly if he's doing quite well for them, maybe they'll buy him. So it's good for Vermaelen. He gets to finally get some first-team action. He only appeared in 21 times for Barcelona in general over the last couple of years. So not really playing too much. So now he finally gets a chance to play, and Barcelona obviously loaned him out to Roma so they get to pay his fees. So that's really about it for that's major confirmed. So I think with that, obviously there's rumors floating around, but we're not going to jump too much into that because we have a huge segment planned next. So with that being said, we're going to take our last break of the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. Coming out of the break, we're going to preview League One and then also the Premier League. Both those leagues get kicked off at the end of this week. So we'll be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. Jordan and Keith is Entertainment Tonight meets Access Hollywood.
I'm Jordan. The guy laughing, that's Keith.
Yeah, I'm Keith.
An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Done. Just ends. Okay.
Just stops on a dime.
I love it. No, I don't. Okay, so we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. An update real quick on Olympic soccer. And the women's German national team currently leads Canada 1-0 with a penalty made by Miss Melanie Behringer there in the 13th minute. So currently 1-0 Germany over Canada as we are playing just into the 20th minute of this game.
Yeah, as it stands right now, Germany would be atop that group. Obviously sitting with 4 points right now, Canada with 6. So definitely both in good position to advance. But Germany with a win would propel themselves forward to top the group, and Canada with a tie would do that.
Do you know what my two favorite names on the women's German national team are?
No, but I'm sure you're going to.
Melanie Behringer's great, but I have two favorite names, okay? Do you want number one or number two?
Why don't you just tell me both?
I'm saying which one you want first.
Whatever
Say the best
you
for
decide.
last. So
Surprise me.
I like that this one's my second favorite. Isabel Kruczowski.
Isabel Kruczowski.
But it's not my favorite. Dare I say my favorite?
Sure.
Zensifer Morasan.
That's a good one.
Morasan, number
the
10.
D is silent. Don't let it.
Yeah, unless it's Densifer.
Zensifer.
Zensifer Morasan. Boom.
It's a good one.
Thank you.
And Germany, good team. So.
I've always been somewhat able to read German names well because my dad's full German, so I get the idea of it well. I also real quick like Saskia Buszczyk. There you go.
Well, yeah, they're all great names. They all have those, that thick traditional German names.
I love it. I love it so much. All right, well, hey, let's get started and let's get on our league preview.
Yeah, so we're going to jump in with two league previews here. One of them not going to be too much in depth. The other one a lot more in depth. So we have Ligue 1, the French league, getting kicked off Friday. We have defending champions PSG, Paris Saint-Germain. They are going off against Bastia. That game will be Friday morning, 11 o'clock our time, about 7 p.m. over in Europe. Monaco as well going to be starting their league campaign just a half hour after PSG and Bastia on Friday, August 12th.
Yeah, Monaco, of course, was the third place finisher this past season in Ligue 1. Paris, PSG, of course, Paris SSG did finish in first by a landslide, 96 points. Lyon finishing in second place at 65, so clearly
31
point difference. Very, very big difference there. Monaco did finish at 65 as well. Some differences in goals for against goals allowed did separate them there. And Nice did finish with 63, so not far behind as well. And then to round out the top five is Lille at the fifth spot, 60 points. So those are the top five from this past year in Ligue 1. I mean, we're going to get into it, but we kind of have a favorite,
Yeah, I think that definitely PSG are the landslide favorites. They've dominated this league for a number of years now.
Yes.
They ended up clinching the league last year earlier than any team has ever done in history.
Ever.
They win by 31-point differential this last year. They're definitely the favorites. I'd say with PSG, the question now is how they can sort of replace some of the people that are going in and out of the lineup that they had last year. They don't have Zlatan Ibrahimovic anymore coming over from PSG into Man United.
Yep.
So how do you sort of replace all the goals he scored for them, do you move Edinson Cavani from the left side into that central striker role? I think that's what they will do. As we announced last week on the show, Jesse Rodriguez coming over from Real Madrid into PSG. He prefers to play on that left side. I think he can go there. You have Angel Di Maria. You brought in Hatem Ben Afra from Nice. Nice ended up finishing fourth. A lot of that was because of Ben Afra, his playmaking ability in the middle. PSG just did defeat Lyon in the French Super Cup last Saturday, 3-0, and Ben Afra scored a goal in his first ever shot for PSG. So he's going to come in nicely. I would not be surprised if he becomes an assist machine because he's going to have great players around him. Definitely a league they should dominate, but now it's how do they replace people like Ibrahimovic and everything he did, and how do they keep building with a new manager and try and have Champions League success. They really haven't done too well. They did get to the semifinals last year, but they did lose. I'm sorry, not the semifinals. They got to the quarterfinals last year, ended up losing to Manchester City. So how do they get over that hump in Europe is the big question. Mm-hmm. I definitely think PSG are the favorites, Alex. I mean,
I agree with you there.
Do you see any team that could it's going to be sort of hard to say, but any team that might challenge?
No. It's really just more who's going to finish 2 through 5, excuse me.
I agree, but I don't think we'll see a 31-point differential this year.
No, I do think they're going to come into the season a little slower this year with all the things they're going to have to adapt to and make work. I was going to say, excuse me, it's not all going to be at once in terms of replacing what's gone now. It's not all going to happen at the same time. It's more so really going to be a slow, is this going to work? Is this going to work? Is that going to work? Kind of thing over time. But I do see them winning this pretty easily. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't see it a 31-point differential again this year in terms of the points. But I mean, if you have a goal difference of 83, you're doing something right. Usually, obviously.
Yeah, that's definitely that's the most I've ever seen. Really,
they allowed 19 goals all year
and scored 102.
Yeah, so that's pretty insane.
Crazy. That's crazy.
I've never seen anything like that.
I'd say if any team is going to challenge him, I don't think any team is, but if any team is going to, it's either going to be Lyon or Monaco.
Yeah, the 2 and 3s from last year.
Lyon technically still do have Alexander Lacazette. He's been rumored to maybe make a move eventually. He's got 48 goals in the league in the last 2 years. They did let go of Samuel Umtiti going to Barcelona, so they made quite an investment on that. Who knows if they'll get rid of Lacazette. Reports are that they want to offer him the richest contract in Lyon history because of how important he is to that team, scoring all those goals. They do have Mathieu Valbuena as well. I'd say Lyon are probably the favorite to try and upset PSG, but I don't see it happening. I think PSG run away with this eventually. They have to sort of get things going with Unai Emery, new manager, bring in new people, new positions, but they'll get things rolling pretty easily. I don't see them really getting tested.
I'm pretty much in agreement with you on that one. I mean, they're a powerhouse.
Yeah, definitely. So with that being said, Ligue 1, I said, gets kicked off on Friday. We had the defending champs PSG opening against Bastia, and then Monaco ended up finishing third, as you mentioned, Alex, going up against Guingamp. Great name.
So real quick, I just want to update you on the women's Germany-Canada game. It was an equalizer in the 25th minute for Canada by Melissa Tancredi. So Melissa Tancredi in the 25th minute did score a goal there for Canada. So currently in the 25th minute, not much time has passed since. It is 1-1 in that game.
And I have an update, ironically, as well in the UEFA Super Cup game going on between Real Madrid and Sevilla. So Sevilla have equalized. We have a goal in the 41st minute by Franco Vasquez. It is 1-1 between the Champions League champions, Real Madrid, and the Europa League champions in Sevilla.
Yeah, I'm seeing that the Real Madrid's Marco Asensio, his goal apparently was beautiful.
Yeah, he hit it in the top corner. I haven't seen the video of it, but
obviously we're a little busy.
Just seeing a little description of what the goal was like. And then we had Franco Vasquez just equalized for Sevilla.
All right. Keeping our eyes out for everything we can tell you about, hey, guess what? Soccer.
That's right.
All right. Moving on.
We're going to be moving on to preview now. Really my baby, my favorite league, and I would say one of your favorites as well, Alex. The Barclays Premier League, the English top flight, the Premiership, however you want to say it, gets kicked off Saturday morning with defending champions, the Cinderella Leicester City, opening up against Hull City. The game will be 12:30 local time, 4:30 here in the morning in Pacific time, and 7:30 Eastern. I don't think I'll be up for that game. Maybe I'll just catch some of the highlights. But then on Saturday, we have a number of great games going on as well in that 3 o'clock local time hour, 7 o'clock our time. And then on Sunday, we have a lot of big name games. We have Manchester United, the Jose Mourinho, Zlatan Ibrahimovic era starting off against Bournemouth. Arsenal are playing Liverpool. I think that's probably the best game of the weekend. And then on Monday, we have Chelsea against West Ham, a game that's going to get a lot of people's eyes, sort of a London derby there. So the Premier League, Alex, getting set up here. We had Leicester with our champions last year. Just a number of great teams. Like look at the talent pool from last year. You had only an 11-point differential between second and eighth. Mm-hmm. You're looking at it. So
yeah. So yes, this past season, Leicester City did finish in first by a total of 10 points over Arsenal. Second place finisher with 71 points. The Tottenham Hotspurs did finish at 1 point behind Arsenal at 70, and then a tie, in a sense, between 4 and 5 with Man City and Man United, which must have been a tough loss for Man U there because it did keep them out of qualification for the Champions League. So they are playing in the Europa this year. What's disappointing to look at, in a sense, real quick with Man U, who did finish 5th, Southampton at 6th, then West Ham to finish out the Europa qualifying teams there. West Ham did finish in 7th with 62 points. Man United had a goal for of 49. Okay, they scored 49 goals last year. The team that finished absolute last year, Sunderland, had 48.
Oh yeah, just that cutoff between the relegation zone.
Yeah,
Sunderland.
The thing that really kind of pushed these teams down as you look at goals for the teams in the top 4. Leicester City 68, Arsenal 65, 69 for Tottenham. Man City had 71.
The most of any team.
It's a drop down significantly to Man United for 49, and then giving up 35 goals themselves. It's, that's all well and good if you're giving them 35, 36, but then you have the top 3 teams, as a matter of fact, 35 and 36, scoring 68, 65, and 69 respectively. So.
And I think that is maybe one of the big reasons they brought in a guy like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, that lack of goal scoring.
They need goals.
They scored 49 league goals last year. Ibrahimovic scored 40-plus alone for PSG, so he can definitely score the goals. I think there's going to be a big adjustment. The Premier League is a lot more competitive than League One.
Yes.
He's also going to be 35 years old in October, so there's going to be a lot more comparison. There's no way he's going to score 40 goals this season. Sorry to break it to you, but
it's okay.
But he definitely was brought in to be that goal-scoring threat because United, the defense was there. They had 35 goals they given up. That was the best in the league.
Fun fact.
But they need to score goals.
True. That's what he does. Fun fact, Zlatan Ibrahimovic's birthday is 3 days before mine.
In October.
Yeah, October 3rd.
And yours is October 6th.
It is. A couple years apart, though.
Just a little bit. 35 to 24.
He's a little bit younger than I am, so.
You mean older?
Nope.
Okay.
So moving on.
Anyways, as far as this season goes, I'd say more so than anything, I'm sure you'll agree with me here, I'd say this is going to be one of the most competitive Premier League seasons we've had to date.
Yes.
You have Leicester, the champions last year, really a dream season. They ended up losing N'Golo Kante to Chelsea, who I think was really not necessarily the leader of that team, but the catalyst of everything they do.
Ran through him.
His work rate in midfield, the way he can sort of attack the ball, win the ball back on the defensive side, I've never seen anyone else do it like Conte does. Mm-hmm. He's just absolutely magnificent. So
and he moved from one team in the league to another.
Yeah, he moved over to Chelsea. So losing Conte for Leicester City, I think, is huge. They still do have Jamie Vardy. He scored a goal in the Community Shield on Sunday. And they do have Riyad Mahrez, who was the PFA Player of the Year. Creates a lot of stuff they do on that right side. You have Arsenal. You have Tottenham. You have both the Manchesters. Liverpool with Klopp, his first full season. Jurgen Klopp coming over from Dortmund. He has his first full season with the Reds now. And then Chelsea, a team that finished 10th. They bring in Antonio Conte, who's the Italian national team manager. You bring in N'Golo Kante. Ironically, Antonio Conte and N'Golo Kante. You bring in Michi Batshuayi. Chelsea really a great team winning the Premier League 2 years ago. Yeah. A disappointing season last year.
Finishing 10th.
Finishing 10th.
50 points.
I think they're going to correct things. I think they're definitely in the top 4. Like, the defending champs from 2 years ago, you bring in N'Golo Kante in that midfield. Antonio Conte did really well with Italy. Michi Batshuayi, he can sort of complement Diego Costa in that striker role. I'm not sure if he maybe changes the formation up with 2 strikers, apparently. With Batshuayi and Costa, they're both there. They're both really talented, so that could be a possibility. Who knows? But I don't see Chelsea finishing 10th. I see them definitely in top 4.
Okay, I can dig on that. I respect that. I mean, they definitely made a lot of moves to be better this year. So,
and they still have a great squad from 2 years ago when they won the Premiership.
I think they move up in the top 4. I think a team like Man U can move up into the top 4 there.
Absolutely.
I think a team like Tottenham might get knocked out of there. Perhaps even Leicester City.
Yeah, I'd say if any team takes a drop, obviously Leicester City finishing first is only one way to go, and that's down.
Yeah.
But I'd definitely say they take a drop. Losing those players, they had a dream season last year. I don't see them really repeating that. I definitely see they take a drop. Maybe they can finish still in the top 10. I don't know. I still think they're a better team than people like Stoke, Everton, Swansea City. Those are even Southampton. Those are teams that finished mid-table. But I don't see them finishing the top 4. I think this is going to be the most competitive season I mentioned. You can honestly say, I'd say 6, 7 teams that I could really see winning the title this year. I could see Arsenal winning. I think they need to make a lot of moves still. They do have Per Mertesacker go out with an injury, the center back, and then just in their last build-up game on Sunday, they played Manchester City in Sweden. They ended up winning that game 3-2. Good for Arsenal. But they had Gabriel Paulista, their other only really experienced fit center back right now. He went down with an ankle injury. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. You have Laurent Koscielny, who's still on international sort of holiday break after the European Championships. He won't be ready to play Liverpool on Sunday. So as it looks right now, you have Callum Chambers, who's super young, only 20 in his early 20s, only played a couple of games last year in the Premier League. Then you have Rob Holding, who's only 20 years old, came over from Bolton, who's a League 3 side this right now. So he hasn't even played in the Premier League before, and you have to really match them up against Liverpool right away. Not a good thing. But anyways, I think Arsenal are still a great team. They've been in the top 4 for 20 years in a row. Yep. They've been a staple in the top 4. Tottenham had a great season last year. They really stumbled at the end, finishing behind Arsenal again for 21 years in a row. I like to say that. But anyways, so Tottenham are still a good side, as much as I hate to say it. Man City got a lot better with Pep Guardiola. Man United, I think, on paper, are maybe my Premier League favorites with all the additions they've made.
Same.
Southampton had a good season. West Ham, yes. I don't think, are really capable of winning. I think they're still a formidable side. And then Liverpool are really the team that I'm most unsure about, because Liverpool either play really great
or really bad,
or they play really bad. And now with Klopp, he brings in people like Sadio Mane. I think with Klopp, he can really sort of bolster that squad. He's really emotional, probably the most emotional manager in the Premier League right now. He can really bolster that squad. Hopefully for Liverpool, people like Daniel Sturridge can stay healthy. When he's been healthy, he's been great for not only Liverpool, but for England as well. Scored in the World Cup before, scored in the European Championships earlier this summer. So I'd say, really, I could see Arsenal, Tottenham, both the Manchesters, Liverpool, Chelsea, all winning the league. And what's scary is that all those teams could win the league, and that means one of them could possibly finish like 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th. It's going to be a great league. I am super excited for Saturday to get things kicking off.
Yeah, man, I can't wait. I'm not going to be awake for that game on Sunday, but can't wait to see it.
Yeah, the Man United Bournemouth game gets kicked off at 5:30, and then Arsenal will be playing Liverpool at 8 o'clock in the morning. Like I mentioned, I think that's the best game of the weekend by far. And then I think Monday's game between Chelsea and West Ham is probably second. And that game's obviously alone just the only Monday game, so it's going to be, more sort of broadcasted. There's no competition between it. So I definitely think those are sort of the top 2 games of the week. But we still have some great ones. We have Burnley coming back up, being promoted after being relegated last year. So they're in the Premier League for the second time in the last 3 years, as well as Hull City coming up. Middlesbrough came up from the sort of football championship one. Now they're in the Premier League again. So great for them. We have some great storylines. Bournemouth last season was their first season ever in the Premier League, and they did not get relegated. That's a great thing. It's going to be tough. Don't get me wrong. They are still in the Premier League, though, so that's great for Bournemouth. Starts off early against United. That's going to be a tough game. But anyways, for the EPL, the BPL, the Premiership, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be a great season, really competitive. I think there's definitely a handful of teams that could win it, and who knows? Maybe you'll have another Leicester City just come out of nowhere last year and win it all. Like
West Bromwich or Crystal Palace.
I'd say of any team, honestly, that could maybe make a run at it, I would say it'd be Sunderland. I don't see it happening, but Sunderland kind of are on that same role that Leicester City were 2 years ago. Leicester City were battling. They were in last place 2 years ago for a lot of the league season. And then near the middle to the end of the season there, they started building up slowly, started getting more positive results, and barely hung on to stay around for the Premier League last year. Then they got off to a great start. They won their first game, ironically enough, against Sunderland. They won that first game. Sunderland really did the same thing last year. They were in last place for a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. Then near the end of the season, they started playing really well. Jermaine Defoe was banging through goals. They are not going to have their manager, Sam Allardyce, because he is taking on the England national job, stepping in for Roy Hodgson, who resigned. I'm putting in air quotes after their loss to Iceland in the European Championships. But, Alex, their new manager is David Moyes, who has experience at Man United right after Fergie, Sir Alex Ferguson, left the club.
Fergie, singer of the Black Eyed Peas.
No. But so they definitely have an experienced manager, David Moyes. He didn't really have the greatest time at Old Trafford, but he's still experienced enough. I'd say if any team can do what Leicester City did last year, I don't see it happening, but it would be Sunderland.
Question before we move on.
Okay.
You don't see Aston Villa doing it?
Well, they're relegated into the Championship now. Really had just a poor season last year.
17 points, 3 wins, 27 losses, 8 draws. They had 27 goals for and 76 against, a goal differential of minus 49.
Yeah, so they got relegated down as well as Norwich City. I feel bad for Norwich. It seems like every time they get back into the Premier League, they get relegated again. And then Newcastle
United.
So I'd say if any team that has the best chance to come back into the Premier League, it's definitely Newcastle.
Maybe Norwich.
No, it's definitely Newcastle and Norwich. I think Aston Villa are the worst of that.
Yeah, the 34 points for Norwich, 19th. The drop off from there to 17. So,
yeah. So I'd say if anyone, it would be Newcastle with the greatest chance. I do expect them to sort of finish at least in the topper half of that bracket in the Championship. If they finish first, they're automatically through, as well as second, and then there's a playoff for the third place team to go in. So I definitely think Newcastle will be there. Norwich have a really good chance. I don't expect Aston Villa, so I don't know. Like, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, the Football League Championship got kicked off last week. There's so many teams, though, so and such a long season, you really have to sort of wait on. It's a little too early to tell. So
okay, a couple updates before we get going. Germany and Canada are still tied at 1-1. They're in the 40th minute, but Australia and Zimbabwe got started around the same time. It is currently 3-0 Australia
already.
It was 1-0 as soon as 2 minutes in from a goal by Lisa Devana in the second minute. Fast forward to the 15th minute, and Claire Polginghorn scored a goal to put them up 2-0, and then just recently, 2 minutes ago, in the 37th minute, Alana Kennedy scored a header in the box to put them up 3-0.
Yeah, Zimbabwe not having the greatest Olympics, ended up losing to Germany 6-1 on their opening match, and now losing 3-0 to Australia already in the 39th minute.
Yeah, currently it's pretty heavy in favor of Australia. Obviously, besides the score, possession is at 65-35 in favor of Australia. Zimbabwe has 3 fouls already. They are not doing anything to win. Australia has 5 corner kicks currently. They are doing everything they need to do to shut this one out. Currently in the 39th minute, heading to half, probably going to be 3-0 still.
Yeah, and then at the half, we have Real Madrid and Sevilla are tied at 1-1, as we mentioned earlier. And then Germany and Canada are still at 1-1 as well in the 40th minute. So
41st now.
Oh, well,
it's a move.
Time changes. As we continue doing the show, of course, it's going to update because the game is still going on. So
yes.
And of course,
while Ben does the outro, I will watch these like a hawk and make sure nobody scores again.
You will be keeping us updated. If something happens, feel free to interrupt me as I do the outro here, because the listeners, need to know the up-to-date scores.
Okay, I will.
Okay?
I will.
But anyway, so that is going to conclude this week's episode of the GSMC Soccer Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it, talking some Olympics, some Premier League, some League One, as well as the biggest transfers of the week. As always, you can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher. You can find us on YouTube. We're at Twitter and Instagram with GSMC_soccer. And then our homepage for the podcast network here is gsmcpodcast.com. Make sure you click on the portfolio of podcasts. Click on the soccer one. You can find all our episodes there. You can listen to all of them. You can find other ones that are sports-related, non-sports-related. There's a coming soon tab, so you can see all the podcasts that will be launching eventually on the GSMC Podcast Network. And I think I have them all covered.
YouTube.
I said YouTube. I don't know if I mentioned Facebook. We're on Facebook as well. GSMC Podcast Network's there. You can find us really anywhere you like for your viewing and listening pleasure. Well, you view it on YouTube.
Okay,
that's what I
understand.
Because you view it on YouTube. That's what I was. That's
Yeah,
why.
I got
okay.
you.
Anyways, so I hope you enjoyed the show. Signing off here. I'm Ben.
And I am Alex.
There's a lot of great games going on this weekend. Currently going on right now. We have Olympics, and then we have the league starting up again.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys are excited, as Alex and I both are, for those to kick off. And we will have you here next week, updating you about everything that's going on in the world of soccer.
Yeah, it looks like we're heading into half 1-1 for Canada, Germany. So we will see you guys next week. You guys have a good week, and we will see you then.